What's going on, guys? It's Steve. Now, we all know Mike D'Antoni just came out and said that he quit because of Carmelo Anthony. Now, if you guys don't know the situation, I pretty much knew this already, but a lot of people didn't. When Melo forced that trade to come to the New York to come to the New York Knicks, he told I don't remember who the GM was at that point in time, but he told whoever was in charge at that point in time that he would not come if Mike D'Antoni is returning next season. So what happened? Mike D'Antoni went out and resigned. Some people are blowing it way out of proportion. It's really not that big of a deal. The simple fact is that Mike D'Antoni is a run and gun type offensive coach, where he really didn't work out too well except with the Phoenix Suns and now with the Houston Rockets. He changed the NBA though. I'll give him that. He's a really good coach, but he just didn't work out well with the Knicks. But that's besides the point of this video. Now, if you have been around, I've been on YouTube for almost pretty much a year now. Okay, 365 days. And if you have been around from the get-go, when I first made my first Melo video called Carmelo Anthony, the most underrated player of all time. It was a 3-minute video with footage and music and all this other crap. It was a documentary type video. And a lot of people loved it. So I want to make another video because I feel like I need to elaborate on why this is true, that Carmelo Anthony is, in fact, the most underrated player in NBA history. Now, it's really not that difficult to understand why. Okay, but here's the first thing. Okay, let's start off with the obvious. Scoring. Carmelo, actually, you know what? Let's go throughout his whole career from the beginning to the end. So right now. So Carmelo Anthony, drafted. And when he was first drafted, it was debated whether or not he was better than LeBron James. Melo just came off being the MVP in the NCAA championship, winning for Syracuse. He gets drafted third to the Denver Nuggets. He comes in, he plays all 82 games. He averages 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. And to be honest, he deserved the Rookie of the Year over LeBron James. Why? He put up pretty much the same exact stats. LeBron put up 20 points per game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Carmelo Anthony put up 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Pretty much the same exact stats. The only difference is that Carmelo Anthony led his team to a 25-win turnaround from last season. But not only that, this man made the NBA playoffs in the era where the Western Conference was the toughest in NBA history. He made the playoffs. That is what Carmelo Anthony does. And he was 19 years old at the time. So for anyone saying he doesn't make the playoffs, guess what? He hasn't missed the playoffs. If you start from his career all the way up to 2013, from draft day to 2013, he's never missed the playoffs. Ever since Phil Jackson came, guess what? He hasn't made the playoffs since Phil Jackson. Is that a coincidence or not? Sounds like it's Phil Jackson's fault. Anyway, that's besides the point of this video. The point is that Carmelo Anthony led his team. He should have won Rookie of the Year, first of all. The media hated him from the get-go. I explained why. Because he had the dreads. He had the cornrows. He had the tattoos. He was in that video with those drug dealers talking about lynching white people. He made some mistakes. The media never forgave him, but that's besides the point. So next season, Carmelo Anthony averages pretty much the same numbers. 21 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. And lo and behold, guess what? He makes the NBA playoffs again. Okay, at the age of 20 years old. Now, this first season, he got swept. His second season, he lost 4-1. Now, his second season, in the playoffs, he only averaged 19 points per game. But what do you expect from a 19-year-old, in their first time in the NBA playoffs? That's besides the point. So, his third year in the league, Carmelo Anthony averages 26.5 points per game, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. Okay, he played 80 games, and lo and behold, guess what? He made the NBA playoffs. Now, there's a trend that a lot of people aren't realizing. And I'll be the first one to admit it. Carmelo Anthony, in his first 5 seasons in the NBA, got beat in the first round. Okay? In fact, in his first 5 seasons, he didn't even force a Game 6, which looks bad. I'll give you that. But if you look at his team, that looks bad as well. The fact that Carmelo Anthony carried his team to the playoffs in the Western Conference by himself says a lot. Now, when you go to let's fast forward a little bit to the 2008-2009 NBA season, where Carmelo Anthony, who, by the way, let's go back to his first 3 years. I apologize for this. So his first 3 years, The man is averaging in his first 3 years 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists for his first 3 seasons in the league. Okay, from 2003-04 to 06-07. I mean to 05-06, excuse me. First 3 seasons, he's not an all-star. 06-07, he's an all-star. 07-08, he's an all-star. 08-09, he got injured. That's why he wasn't an all-star. In 2008-2009, he averaged 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Now, if you look at 2008-2009, 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. Let's fast forward to 2016-2017 NBA season. 23 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. But yet, somehow, some way, he's out of his prime. Does not make sense. Now, Carmelo Anthony, out of the get-go, made the playoffs unlike LeBron James did. Okay? In the tough Western Conference. This was the time the Western Conference was really tough. Nowadays, it's not tough. Okay? Neither conference now is tough. It's just the Cavs and the Warriors are just elite. But back then, it was tough. You had the Phoenix Suns, you had the Lakers, you had the Dallas Mavericks, you had the San Antonio Spurs, the Utah Jazz. The list can continue. The Houston Rockets with Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming. The list can continue. Okay, so if Tracy McGrady and Yao Ming couldn't get out the first round, what do you think Melo's going to do by himself? Not get out the first round. However, if you go to 2008-2009, Carmelo Anthony forced 6 games against the Los Angeles Lakers that went on to win the NBA championship that season. And you can make the argument that if the Denver Nuggets would have won that series, Melo and the Denver Nuggets would have defeated the Orlando Magic, because they definitely would have, defeated the Orlando Magic, and guess what? Melo would have an NBA championship. And I wouldn't be making this video. But since Melo got drafted to a garbage team, he turned them around by 25 wins, he gets the blame for it. Now, let's fast forward to his Knicks days. Carmelo Anthony in 2010, 2011, before the trade deadline, he only played, he played 50 games with the Nuggets, and then at the trade deadline, he went to New York, and he only played 27 games with the Knicks. But if you combine both stats between Denver and New York, he averaged 26 points per game, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists. So, when you see that, you're like, this guy has never averaged under 20 points per game. And you're right. For a player to never average under 20 points per game in their entire career is so rare that even some of the greatest players in NBA history, not some, even 99.89% of the greatest players ever have not done it. There are only 3 other players that have played 10 years or more in the NBA that have never averaged under 20 points per game. You want to know who those 3 players are? Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan. Now, that list comprises of obviously 4 players. Melo's on that list. Guess who's not on that list? Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Dirk Nowitzki, Dwyane Wade. The list can go on. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird. The list can go on. So in terms of scoring, Melo's on a planet of his own. Okay? I repeat, there was a point in time where Carmelo Anthony never missed the NBA playoffs. Now, I understand. You have the argument that, look, Melo only made it out of the first round 3 times in his career. Actually, I think it's 2. 2 times in his career, which is completely understandable. That is a fault on Carmelo Anthony. I'll give you that. But for some people to say he's an overrated bum, he's just, he's a ball hog, this or that. I didn't know ball hogs averaged nearly 4 assists for their career. I did not know that. And if he were a ball hog, let's rewind time real quick and really talk about a ball hog. If he were to be a ball hog, wouldn't he average like over 20 shots per game like some other players? I'm not going to say any names. I don't have to say any names. You all know who I'm talking about. Wouldn't he average over 20 shots per game like this other player did? But somehow, some way he doesn't. So I guess Melo is not a ball hog because for his career, he averages 19 shots per game on 45% shooting, on 35% shooting from 3, on 82% shooting from the free throw line. This man, Carmelo Anthony, for his career, averages 25 points per game, 7 rebounds per game, and 3 assists per game. And you're going to sit there and tell me that this man is overrated? Some people don't even have Carmelo Anthony in their top 50. This man, Carmelo Anthony, deserved Rookie of the Year. Okay? He definitely deserved Rookie of the Year. Did he deserve any MVPs over LeBron and Kevin Durant during that era? Or Kobe and D-Wade? No. I'll give you that. But he's been an MVP candidate 8 times in his career. 8 times out of the 14 seasons, that he has played in this league. That's over 50% of the time he was an MVP candidate. How many players can say that? How many players can say that? This man has over 24,000 career points. Oh, you thought that was just okay. Let's look at the playoffs. 26 points per game, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. This man Melo is big time. Like Stephen A. Smith said, Melo should not be losing to anyone but LeBron and Kevin Durant, meaning those are the only players that should be his competition. No other player or team should be his competition. And it's tragic that somehow, some way, Phil Jackson could not find good players to surround Melo with. But I'll sit here and I'll say this. Every single NBA player in the league right now would die to have a career like Carmelo Anthony did. Melo's definitely a Hall of Famer. He has a 99.99999% chance, according to Basketball Reference, of making the Hall of Fame. And guess what? They've been right for the last 15 seasons. Carmelo Anthony is and will be an NBA Hall of Famer. He's one of the greatest ever. And I understand if you don't have him in your top 25. But don't be disrespectful and say he's not top 50. This man is one of the 50 greatest players to ever play this game. His career's not over, so I can't give you an exact number. But this man is a top 50 player in NBA history. I'm out. Peace.